Yeah, welcome in. Welcome back to another episode of the Format Podcast. Boy, do we have a show for you here today. Can't wait to get into it. Scottie Pippen apparently has officially gone nuts, but we'll get to that in just a minute. But before we do, you know what time it is. If you're here on YouTube and you haven't already, please go ahead, click that subscribe, that like, and that notification bell so you can be made aware whenever new episodes drop and new content comes out on the channel. You can be right there with us. If you want the audio only version of the podcast, you know what to do. Anywhere you get your audio podcast, go ahead, give us a search, the Format Podcast. We should come right up. Please give us that 5-star review and like the show, and make sure you share it with other people you know who love sports talk and might be looking for a different voice and different thoughts on the major stories of the day. You do that, we rise in the algorithm. It helps us find more sports fans, helps more sports fans find us. Now let's get right to it. So as I said on the intro, Scottie Pippen has officially gone nuts. Man, this guy is something else. Now, apparently, he's got some money issues. And, let me back up a little bit. Scottie Pippen, as we know, is a top 50 and top 75 NBA all-time player. Some people have him ranked as, one of the all-time greats. I think he's a great player. I never personally was one of those guys that was a huge believer in Scottie Pippen in terms of him being as highly regarded as a lot of people in the basketball community do, because I'm a firm believer that, Michael Jordan was the one. Now, don't get me wrong, Scottie is not devoid of talent by any stretch, and to have gotten to the level he got to, he had to have been, he had to have been something that he works with, right? And they say iron sharpens iron, but at the same time, I truly believe and always have that had Scottie Pippen been drafted elsewhere and not gone to the Chicago Bulls and had not gone through the crucible of being Michael Jordan's teammate all those years, he would not have ended up becoming the player that he was. And I think even to himself, he probably knows that. But he was a key, an integral part, maybe one of the greatest Robins of all time in helping Michael Jordan get to those 6 championships and without losing in the finals. Now, obviously, we know Michael Jordan is the reason. And now, of course, you will have the LeBron people who will say, well, Michael Jordan was 1-9 in the playoffs without Scottie, and he never won anything without Scottie, and blah, 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 which, it's yes, but it's also, it's true on its face, but it's also incomplete. But this is not the podcast for me to go into why Michael Jordan is the GOAT and the narrative that Scottie Pippen carried him is pure nonsense. But anyway, Scottie Pippen, again, great, one of the best number 2 Robins, one of the best number 2s, one of the best Robins of all time, the ultimate sidekick. And Scottie Pippen, clearly, due to his contribution that he made to those 6 championship teams, does not like being categorized in that fashion. But at the end of the day, while we may not all like being categorized in a certain way, it is what it is, and history will tell it. So what's going on now? Scottie Pippen over the years has made a number of, I'll just say, flat out absurd comments, and now recently he's come out with even more. He was on Stacey King, his former Chicago Bulls teammate for the first three-peat, his podcast, and he said some utterly ridiculous things. So let's check out some of the things Scottie Pippen has said through time, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about those.
In terms of statistics, LeBron is right there. And when you look across the board, not just scoring, check his assists, check his rebounds, he's probably ahead of Jordan.
Michael Jordan is the greatest player to ever put on shoes and play in our game. No doubt about it. I'm always asked about questions to compare him to LeBron. I try to make the best of it.
You try to make the best of it?
I've tried to make the best of it, but really the comparison shouldn't ever be made. They both play 2 different positions. The way LeBron James play, Michael Jordan was never asked to play that way because I took that away from him. I was the point forward. I was the facilitator. Michael Jordan is a scorer. He was a defender. He played the game as complete as LeBron James did when he needed to, but he was asked to score the basketball, and that's what he was great at. And there's no game that I would ever play in and pick LeBron James over Michael Jordan.
LeBron will be the greatest statistical guy to ever play the game of basketball. And there's no comparison to him. None. So, does that make him the greatest player to ever play the game? I'm going to put myself in there if you're going to call out a greatest player. I've seen Michael Jordan play before I came to play with the Bulls. You guys seen him play. He's a horrible player. He was horrible to play with. He was all one-on-one. He's shooting bad shots. and all of a sudden we become a team and we start winning, everybody forgot who he was. Of all my years I played in Chicago and played with Michael, I never saw one free agent come to the Bulls and said that they want to play there with Michael. I do recall a couple of them coming there during the off season when he retired, or the 2 years that he was away from the game. So I say that to say this. The success of the Bulls came from a team. It didn't come from Michael Jordan.
So this is, I mean, utterly insane. And real quick, one of the things that I hate about this whole Scottie Pippen nonsense is that when he comes out and says things like this, like these crazy statements that he makes, it gives the LeBron James apologists and the pro LeBron James and the LeBronites or whatever else you want to call them, it gives them room to go ahead and push their ridiculous narratives, stuff like Scottie Pippen carried Michael Jordan, et cetera, et cetera. And well, it's just crazy. And so let's touch on some of them. The fact that he's gonna say, basically what he's intimating is that before me, Michael Jordan was nothing, which is absolutely ridiculous. Michael Jordan walked into the league getting busy. Now, yeah, it's true that Michael Jordan was 1-9 in the playoffs before Scottie Pippen. But what we do need to look at, and actually I broke this down. If you go back on the channel and check, I believe there's a show called MJ Never Beat Bird. And it really goes into chronicles and details a lot of the nuance that goes into Michael Jordan's early lack of success in the playoffs. But even before Michael Jordan started winning championships, and even before Scottie Pippen became what he would eventually become, Michael Jordan was one of the elite players in the NBA. Walked into the league averaging 28. The year before Scottie Pippen got there, averaged 37 and 5 assists, I believe. The following year, he averaged 35, and he averaged 35 with Scottie averaging 7 points a game. So let's not act like Scottie walked into the league and he was something special. Over the time, the years with Michael Jordan, he became better and better, and he developed. And of course, the triangle system is one that allows different players to flourish because it's a read and react system, so everybody has to be ready. Anyway, so you look at a guy like Scottie Pippen. Of course, he's blessed, gifted physically at 6'8", and extremely great wingspan, great feet, athleticism, all of that. So it's not taking away from Scottie Pippen, but for him to fix his mouth to say that the guy who literally made him into the player that he was a horrible player. I mean, first of all, it's flat out a lie that he was a horrible player early on. It's pure nonsense, because all you have to do is go back and look. I mean, Larry Bird, Larry Bird is a guy who I have top 5 all time, and most people have top 10 all time, and one of the greatest players of all time. In 1986, after Michael Jordan dropped 63 in the double overtime loss in the Boston Garden, and no, I'm not touting a loss, but I am saying what Larry Bird said. He said that wasn't Michael Jordan, that was God in basketball shoes. Larry Bird, one of the greatest trash talkers of all time. When have you heard him refer to another player that way? I mean, that come on, he called him God in basketball shoes. So anyway, for Scottie Pippen to come out and say that Michael Jordan was a horrible basketball player, like, that just doesn't even make sense. It's just not true in any form or fashion. And then you have instances where he says, this is what gets me, right? In the past, he said, he thinks LeBron has surpassed Michael Jordan in many ways. And then I guess he felt the blowback from that. And then he comes out and says, there's no game in which I would take LeBron James over Michael Jordan. And now recently there's LeBron James is going to be the greatest statistical player of all time. You could argue that, but Wilt is probably still that guy. I believe Wilt Chamberlain still holds over 40 individual records in the NBA record book. The guy's like Paul Bunyan. So as great as LeBron has been statistically, and he has been amazing statistically, there's no arguing that. There's no way that you're going to say that he's the greatest statistical player of all time. He's just not. Like, there's Wilt, there's Hakeem Olajuwon. Yeah, I know people are going to be like, Bruce, you're talking about Dream again, but quick reminder, at his time of retirement, Hakeem Olajuwon was the only player in NBA history to be top 10 in 5 major statistical categories, that being scoring, rebounding, shot blocking, steals, and field goal percentage. And I believe he's still top 10 in 4 of those. He's moved out in scoring. But anyway, you get the point I'm trying to make. So to this LeBron is the greatest statistical player of all time. No, not quite. And unfortunately, what I'm seeing here is Scottie Pippen taking shots at Michael Jordan. And there's some reasons behind that. Obviously, he wants to try and push his book. Obviously, he wants to stay relevant as an all-time great player who a lot of people don't really think about, especially in the wake of this manufactured GOAT debate between Michael Jordan and LeBron James. He's a guy that definitely just he feels like he's been forgotten about and he's not relevant, and especially in the wake of The Last Dance, where he felt like he was portrayed improperly and that he didn't get his shine and that he was made to look bad, et cetera, et cetera. So now he's doing what guys do. Unfortunately, we've seen some of this from Isaiah Thomas. It's to take shots at Michael Jordan because you feel a certain way about how you've been portrayed. And real quick on the case of Isaiah Thomas, if you listen to his commentary on this stuff, he tells a lot of truth. The only thing I would point to that I kind of don't like with that is the fact that Isaiah Thomas is on wax at multiple different occasions saying multiple different people are the GOAT. And so that's problematic for me. But anyway, moving on from that, Scottie Pippen, this is just terrible. And then, to top it off, you have what's clearly or what should be bothering him. His ex-wife Larsa Pippen is now dating Michael Jordan's son. So like all that is gonna mess with you. And so we see Scottie Pippen just he's in a strange place now, and he's lashing out and he's attacking Michael Jordan, and he's saying things that just don't make sense and consistently just looking for this attention. And it's wild. And to me, it's wild. It's disingenuous. He's flat out lying in many cases. The stuff he's saying is all over the place. I mean, at one point he even said like he feels like he should be in the GOAT debate. Nobody in their right mind who knows anything about basketball is putting Scottie Pippen in the GOAT debate. He's probably not even top 4 all time at his position, right? As good as he was. So for him to be in the GOAT debate, just that doesn't even make sense to me. But again, he has this need to stay relevant. He has this need to try and get himself back out there after all these other things we discussed. Him feeling not like in the way that he was portrayed in The Last Dance, him feeling that his contribution to the Bulls are not appreciated the way it should be. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you're not the star, that's kind of how it goes, right? Look at how many guys their contributions to LeBron James's championships aren't appreciated, right? And that's when you play with a guy of that magnitude. Unfortunately, it's going to play a role in the way people see you, and the media coverage is going to play a role in the way people see you. But Scottie Pippen, you should be happy because you're a guy that you were blessed to play with Michael Jordan and to win those 6 championships. Because while I've said it before, I've said it on wax and I've said it off wax, I don't believe Michael Jordan wins 6 championships without Scottie Pippen. However, I don't believe Scottie Pippen wins any championships without Michael Jordan. And the fact is this: we saw what happened when Scottie Pippen, even at his best, right, was not with Michael Jordan. He didn't win a championship. And even after Michael Jordan retired in 1998, Scottie Pippen was still an active player and still, relatively good. I'll say, slightly out of his prime, but still a really good player and a winner and a guy who knew what it took. He was on super teams and still couldn't get the job done. So yeah, save it, Scottie. But anyway, what I want to know from you is, and you can leave it in the comments section, what do you think of Scottie Pippen's latest comments? Do you think he's just crying for help? Do you think he's begging for attention? How much of this do you think is based on his portrayal in The Last Dance and the fact that his son is dating his ex-wife? Not his son. Michael Jordan's son is dating his ex-wife, or the commentary about LeBron and Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen kind of feeling that he's left out in terms of the GOAT debate. And do you think there's any merit whatsoever to Scottie Pippen putting himself in the GOAT argument? Can't wait to hear your comments. Can't wait to read them, get back to you on those. And I'll be back next episode. And I'm out. Peace.